Thank you for staying with us this beautiful Saturday morning. Now, let's talk food. Well, not food like that. Let's talk about stemming hunger in the Sahel region. The Sahel is a vast area stretching 6,000 kilometers between East and West Africa. It covers many geographical and agroecological territories, and it encompasses 12 countries and is home to approximately 400 million people. Ooh, that's a lot of people. So if anything happens to that area, just imagine how many people are going to starve.
Absolutely.
400 million people. The region faces political instability that has weakened household livelihoods, threatened state sovereignty and stability, and undermines social peace. And then along came COVID-19. That slowed down food production systems due to the closure of markets and borders, as well as farmlands. All these factors put the resilience of food systems at risk. We'll take a look at how to stem hunger in this region. And to discuss this with us this morning, it's my pleasure to welcome Benoit Thierry, who's Director, West Africa, International Fund for Agriculture. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And he joins us via Zoom from Dubai. Now, let me begin by asking you, what is the International Fund for Agriculture?
Sure. First, thank you very much for inviting me. And indeed, I am currently in Dubai Expo, where we have the Agriculture Week. But I'm usually based in Dakar, Senegal. And IFAD stands for International Fund for Agriculture Development. It's a UN institution based in Rome, and it was created in 1977. You know that in Rome, United Nations has this hub for agriculture with FAO, WFP, World Food Programme, and IFAD. And we are investing in promoting smallholder agriculture to make the small farmers richer, if you want. So this is done through loans. We give loans to governments, and the governments use these loans in projects which can help people to improve their agriculture system, produce more food, and sell better as well. And we work now in like 100 countries. So at this very moment, I can tell you we have 250 projects going on worldwide.
Okay, you are at the Dubai Agric Week at the moment. What kind of things are you showcasing?
Well, we were very impressed to see that this Universal Expo was dedicating a full week to agriculture. That's very good, because this expo generally deals with many other aspects, is for each country to showcase what they are doing on technology, on tourism, on all these topics. So the point of having a week on agriculture has helped to give more visibility to the agriculture problems worldwide. How can you make agriculture more sustainable? How can you feed all the hungry people on the planet? And how can you reach the Sustainable Development Goal? I was amazed to see everywhere in Dubai Expo, you have a United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So each of them was having a pavilion exposition, which was very interesting. And you know that the first one is to stop poverty, and the second one is to stop hunger. So these are two very important SDGs that IFAD is committed to work upon.
Along the Sahel region, what kind of work is the IFAD doing? It's IFAD, right? IFAD?
Exactly. Very good. Very good.
Okay.
It's IFAD. You know, because we're doing these loans, they are highly concessional loans.
Okay, loans.
So we give that, it has to go through government and through specific agreements with governments. So these are very institutional programs which are reviewed by national parliament, which are reviewed by local authorities. and which goes down to the communities. So what are we doing? As of today, you have 27 projects going on in the Sahel region for an amount of about $2 billion. Now, these projects will expand in the future because in the next 10 years, IFAD will triple its activities worldwide. And actually, it will go even further in Africa because Africa will receive 60% of our support. So we aim to increase a lot program and activity in this part of Africa which are in need of this type of support. Now, the programs we are supporting are on agriculture. So if you take the value chain, which is when you produce something up to the transformation, up to the marketing, we support the many value chain that small farmers can do. And like you can see on pictures behind me, on livestock for dairy production, on fish, or on, cereals production, etc. So first, we want to fix the problem of self-subsistence, that every family has enough food to eat. Then second is to make enough production so they can sell this production and sell it to the market, so make some money, send children to school, make better house, etc., etc. And the increase of income can be very important. You would be amazed when you see people going for vegetable production or poultry production, especially the young people are doing a lot of money with that, which I think is a very promising, also very interesting for the future.
Mr. Thierry, can you just break it down for us? You've just said that you give loans to farmers, and we know that majorly in West Africa, farmers are, small farmers. I mean, pardon the expression, but I can't think of any better way of putting it, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. There are no large...
Smallholder farmers.
Smallholder farmers. Thank you for the expression. So how do you give loans to smallholder farmers, and how do you ensure that those loans are repaid?
Well, technically, and about this very specific aspect on loans, we should say that the new technologies of mobile phones, local banking has helped a lot, Now it's amazing because you can exchange money electronically. You can do practically these loans to people. And it's very helpful. If you want to sell a cow to the market, in the old days, you have all these tickets in your pocket and you are not safe on the way back home. Now you just do an exchange on your mobile phone, you are safe. It's in the cloud, it's electronic, and you can get money when you are back home. So this is working very well for the loan aspect. Then there are other type of support, like we ask farmer organizations to support their members. You have very large farmer organizations in all Africa, and especially West Africa, especially within ECOWAS region. Like biggest one is ROPA, covering all farmers, and another one is APES, for all livestock and pastoralists. So these community organizations are super useful to reach the village and work with them. So that helps IFAD and governments to go down to the level of a family. One of the big problems, I would say, in Africa is that ministries often do not have enough staff to cover all farmers in the country and to help them. Agriculture requires a lot of support, daily support, training. And when I compare other countries, like I was in Asia, same size, like if you take Cambodia and Burkina, you may have 20,000 staff in Cambodia for agriculture, but in Burkina you will find 2,000. So we think that government also should manage to increase the support to the farmers in the future.
Well, Mr. Thierry, maybe we need to even understand how serious a problem we have on our hands. The Sahel covers some 6,000 kilometers between East and West Africa, housing some 400 million people. And this region faces political instability that has frustrated household livelihoods, threatens sovereignty of states and stability, undermines social peace and all of that. essentially frustrating the buying power of the people. How serious a problem do we have on our hands in terms of the hunger crisis, if I can use the term, in the Sahel, affecting, or how many people have been affected of the population?
You are very right, because we see an accumulation of a crisis in Sahel. It's really becoming a hotspot on the globe. Hotspot in the sense that you have these conflict issues, definitely. You have also the climate change issue, which affects a lot of the population. We all know that each drought brings millions of people more to the south, and this is also difficult to find the right system in cultivating into that type of crisis. And then you have the economic crisis as well. So when you put all that together, you have to find the right solution. This is what we are all trying to do as an organization. And I am pleased to tell you that we recently established an umbrella program for Sahel, a joint program with governments, IFAD, FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, and WFP, the World Food Programme. So all together we can be stronger to work, and we have each our specific and comparative advantage. Like IFAD is bringing the finance, FAO is the thinking, bringing the strategies, the ideas, and WFP is very much specialized in delivering in fragile and conflict areas. You know, all these areas where governments have difficulties to go nowadays, in Mali, in Niger or Burkina, and then they can help to feed the population there. The problem of feeding population this year will be very important, because last year harvesting was not so good, and now you're reaching this time of a year where you will not have new production before the next 4 or 5 months' time, and your reserve may be diminished and be depleted. So the coming months will be the very difficult time of a crisis for food, and it will require a lot of support for more than 40 million people. This is the estimation for this year in Sahel.
Well, still on that same subject, Mr. Thierry, you talked about the collaboration with partnership of various governments in each of these countries that you've talked about, all at about 12 of them, as you know, we know, in the East and West African countries that make up the Sahel. So in the same space, we talk about political instability in some of these countries. Now, international agencies, international organizations such as IFAD, FAO, cannot just go into these countries without partnership with the governments in these countries. So with political instability, or rather political instability poses a threat to the effectiveness, the efficiency of the activities of your organization and several others. How are you taking this on?
That's definitely a very good question, because some donors, some financial partners, they say, oh, if there is a coup in a country, then we just withdraw, because this country does not respect basic rules, etc. But when you withdraw from a country in crisis, it's like punishing the population twice. You see what I mean? The population is already suffering of poverty, of drought, of political instability. And on top of that, you cancel the existing project. So I call it in French, we say la double peine, meaning you condemn the people twice, yeah. So for IFAD, what we consider when we have de facto governments is that to see if they respect the rules of a project. The rules of a project is, are you using the funds properly? Is it really going to farmers? Are you keeping care of all the equipments of the projects, etc.? And if these things are happening and the funds are properly used, then IFAD stays in the country. And I've done many places worldwide where I can tell you that once the political problems are solved, many countries are very recognizant to IFAD that we stayed during crisis trying to help. So I think it's important to note. Now, IFAD being quite heavy as an organization, you know, to do agriculture, you need long-term, you need 5, 10 years. Farmers cannot be changed every 4 or 5 months, like I remember in Burundi during the war, you know, where you cannot do agriculture properly. So this is where we call for specific agencies like WFP or local NGOs. And these specific agencies, they know how to work in conflict areas. This is the difference between the fragility and the conflict element.
Mr. Thierry, 65% of the inhabitants of this region are young people below the age of 25. Are there any special IFAD programs for these young people?
Definitely. We do that a lot for the last 10 years, because it's right when you see the demography of Africa, it's very unique in the world nowadays. We can say that 50 years ago, it was Asia which was growing tremendously in terms of population. Now it's Africa growing. As you know, already Africa doubled population the last 30 years to reach 1 billion people. And we reach an additional 1 billion to be at 2 billion people by 2050. So this is already the continent where you have the most young people in the world. And for this reason, we focus many programs on them. That's for sure. Especially that we think that all young people in Africa should be entitled to a decent job and a decent income. So for our sector in agriculture, all the activities we are proposing to young people is indeed to set up small agriculture enterprise, and we even call them agripreneurs, you know. So these agripreneurs, it's to get them doing an agriculture where they can feed themselves, but they can employ people and they can enrich themselves as well. And for this, they use many technological elements which make the agriculture more modern than their parents. And I think it's very useful. Why? Because it gives them an income which is generally higher than what they can get in cities or by migrating. I was mentioning earlier young people doing poultry. We have example in Burkina Faso or in Senegal. And it's amazing to see our young person of 15, 16 years old can start with 200, 300 chickens. But when they marry around 25, then they get to 2,000 chicken. And when they get children, they can move up to 5,000 chicken, getting more income, you know. And the income they get is really to very high standards. In francs CFA, you can easily reach 200, 300 thousand francs CFA per month, which is in US dollar, $400 to $600 per month.
Well, you've spoken to quite a number of very, very serious things. You know, the food that is produced through these projects that you have talked about need to be patronized. I will assume that it's for the consumption of the locals or maybe for trading as well. But it's also an established fact in a number of ways that much of the people in some of these countries that you talk about sometimes prioritize imported food as opposed to the ones that they produce themselves. Has that been your experience, and how has that been received and handled?
Yeah, it's a real problem actually for Africa generally. On one hand, it was good because you may have noticed the good change of the past 40 years is you don't have any more big areas where people are really starving, like we used to see in the years 70s. I would say nowadays, governments know when they are hard time, but they need to import or get support to import food and give it to families. That was done heavily during the COVID, at the beginning of the COVID crisis, when all markets were closed, as you were mentioning, then there were a lot of help going that way. Now, this is only for crisis time. For the long term, where we make a call to government, because indeed there is a choice. As of now, I think Africa is importing $30 to $40 billion every year of food. But you agree with me, we have so much land, people in Africa, there is possibility to produce locally.
Sure.
So the call is for governments to make long-term plans for agriculture. If you stay only on a 2-3 years plan, you don't go far, you know. You have to think on a generation level. So what will be the needs in 25 years' time? What will be the needs in 30 years' time? And if you can have agriculture plans up to 2050, it will be very easy to see what will be the needs for investment, for irrigation, for boreholes, for fertilizer, seed production, private sector, markets, etc. And this is what we push a lot. And I think ECOWAS is supporting a lot this effort because they develop what they call ECOWAP, which is the agriculture plans. But we try to make them longer term with a medium-term expenditure framework, which will help them to attract investors. These investors being national budget, supporting agencies, and also the private sector. Like we recently built big markets at the border between Nigeria and Niger. And you would go there, you would be impressed. The number of trucks going every day between the two countries, despite the problem, it's making a lot of money in this type of places. But this has to be planned. These are big infrastructure which should be planned 5-10 years in advance. That's what we are calling for long-term plans.
Another challenge in that space, still talking about the plans and the patronage and all, would be the logistics of moving some of these products from place to place, from the farmlands to the places where they will be purchased, to consumption and all of that. Are there thinking, is there any thinking along these lines?
Yeah, of course, this relates to the infrastructure of mostly the roads. What we are all lucky now is that already on communication, it has improved a lot thanks to the phone, the internet access, mobile access. So helping the communication has already solved part of the problem. Now, the terms of roads, they are also slowly increasing, and we have also many people working on that. As you know, governments are investing a lot in having road network in their countries. We have also many international donors working on that. You certainly know the African Development Bank, who put a lot of money on the road. So this is necessary. And finally, we have this little program with SEALs based in Ouagadougou, and they work with a federation based in Lagos, by the way. This federation are all the transporters of West Africa, very interesting guys who can give you a lot of information.
Okay, just a quick one before we let you go. IFAD's program is one of several, several agricultural, should I say, intervention. You know, the one being championed by the AFDB is another one, and that's also in pockets of countries all over the place. Special agro-industrial processing zones. That in itself is like creating a farm city, if I can use the term. So the issue of logistics and all those things are taken away. Are there collaborations with such other programs which are gunning towards the same objective?
Yeah, I think it's a very good example, the one you just said, because if you have an agro-processing zone, because it's like a city, they have to be linked to the rural areas, to the farmers. So this is where the cooperatives I was talking about, of the groups, need to link to the industries. This is something we call a contract farming, which is very interesting. Because when we were talking about small farmers, believe me, there are many countries who became rich thanks to their small farmers. You can name Japan, China, Thailand, they all become rich thanks to that. And I know in Nigeria, you have also a very good example of small farmers who make that money. So that is one point on technical collaboration. Now, you have to know, overall, all these institutions are working with governments, and we are guided by government choices. We discuss with them and find the best way, the best partner for each aspect of a government policy. So this is how these discussions are held to get the best programs.
Thank you very much for coming, Monsieur Benoit Thierry, Director, West Africa, IFAD, or International Fund for Agriculture Development. Thank you very much for coming to enlighten us this morning on Sunrise.
Thank you to you. Have a good day.
So, from looking at the Sahel region, we're going to take a trip now to Ebonyi State. Do stay with us.